ruin another human being. And usually it's
so frequent now.
Yeah, but a lot of it's like warranted. But some of it's are we starting? All right. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we like to call mid-conversation start, I guess. Chris is putting up my stopwatch so I know what time it is. Sorry, I don't need to dictate everything. Anyway, how are we doing today?
Oh, we're doing great.
We're doing great. Awesome. I'm glad you're here. This is Millennial Stoner, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Millennial Stoner who is currently stoned. Joe Winchell. I was expecting an applause on that. That was dumb. You don't have to clap. Nobody clap. Today, my guest is, I'm very excited for this because I think she's very funny, and I'm glad that she's on and has the privilege of being the first woman I've had on here.
That's right.
You know? So, ladies and gentlemen, Bridget Kavanagh.
Thank you.
No applause.
No,
I don't know why.
applause.
I'm talking like there's
flat.
an audience.
It falls flat when there's no one claps.
We were talking about hosting later, and I'm doing all the hosting shit right now.
Right. You're practicing.
Yeah, I am practicing. I am. So how are you, Bridget?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
You had a show last night, right?
I did.
How'd it go?
I hosted out at McGuire's. It was great. It's always a good room. There was like one woman right like front and center who was just cackling the whole time. She would cackle on
she had like the laugh of the night. There's always some woman or some man with some obnoxiously specific laugh.
Yes, it was that she would laugh at everything. She would laugh at like the setup of a joke. So like you were killing regardless with her like the whole night. So it was
anyway,
great.
I left my house last night. This is so fucking.
You know what? Yeah, that is literally what she was doing.
Like she just enjoyed it. Like I like everything about it.
Yeah, she was just like happy to be there. One of those kind of.
That would annoy me a little bit because I'm like, let me tell the joke?
Yeah, towards the end, people were like, you can't, nothing's this funny right now.
Yeah, because at that point you got to ask questions like, lady, what?
Yeah.
What's the deal, man? Like, are you just trying to be supportive of somebody, your son up here or something like that? Like,
yeah, I think she was probably drunk.
She was probably drunk. That's usually.
Yeah.
Isn't that the sad thing in like any club?
Yeah, it's like, you're enjoying this, you must be drunk.
Anybody know like really enjoying it?
Yes.
Like, because the guys and the women who are always drunk and they always make a scene.
Yeah.
The follow-up at the end is always like, I was just trying to have a good time, man.
Literally.
Like they get so excited.
There was a guy at one of the shows I did who almost, the bouncer almost kicked him out because he was like, he was right in the front. He was like hammered and he was like being like disruptive.
I think I was on the show with you.
Oh, yeah. I think you were there. Yes. Remember that guy?
Yes.
And they almost kicked him out because he kept like talking to the comedians. And then he's the guy who comes up to you after and is like, like the comedians love that.
Yeah,
like I'm adding to the show.
No, we don't.
We don't need that. We don't need you to do that.
That's something like because like I came from like theater where they're like, you don't talk.
Right.
Right. So like when you go out and do a show or whatever you're doing, live theater, that you don't have to, usually people don't. And if people talk, it's like it's like you're a pariah. That's it. Like it's get them out of here. How dare you?
This is the theater.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, but with comedy, I love it because it's a little more fast and loose.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's just, we still have the same mentality of a theater of like, where it's just like, please be quiet.
Right.
But then people are just so objectively like, no. This is it.
Right.
This is it. This is the thing. This is a Q&A that we do. This is me and this guy here have a back and forth. And I'm like, you have a back and forth with fucking whoever's on the comedy set. Like that's who you have a back and forth with?
Yeah.
You have a back and forth with Big J. Okerson? Really? That's what you do?
I mean, but because some people think like if you talk to them or engage them in some sort of crowd work, then they are invited to like be part of it the whole time.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
And that's why I'm so like, I don't know about you, but I've definitely been trying to do more crowd work lately. You know? And I think because I like hosting. I don't know. We were talking about hosting before and how that can be fun. Some people don't like it. But I look at it as a little time to do little bits in between and kind of get back up there and still be engaged and everything and kind of be a part of the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I want to hear.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like to be able to kind of like call out whatever's going on. Like I called out that cackling lady because it's like something everyone's noticing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to be able to play off of that.
Especially if you come up with something and then you get a chance to go back up there and you're like, I have this little one-liner I'm going to use. I just came up with it now.
And if it doesn't work, like who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Tried it. It's
be up there a million
more
times.
The joy of doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think basically with guys like that, like it's so amazing to me that they think that's like, no, because you talk to me, now I can like get up there and be a part of it. Right. And I'm like, no, that's not how any of this works. Like, it's not open mics, this will happen all the time, right? And that's the hardest sell because they're not paying for the comedy. You can usually get the guy or the girl to calm down if like, you're like, all right, they paid for this, we're going to kick you out, blah, blah, blah. But when they're just there and you're at their bar on like a Tuesday night at like 6:30 with like you and 4 of your fucking comedy friends.
Yeah. And it's like they were there first and then you showed up to do comedy. Like the comedy show happening around them.
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't
That's what it is. They're like, comedy shows happening around me. I don't like this.
Yeah. They're like, this is annoying.
Yeah. And then those guys will sign up for the list and they'll say something like terrible up there. And they'll get a standing ovation from their drunk asshole friends at the bar.
That's the worst. But crowd work is hard because I feel like I stayed away from it a lot when I first started. Because
it's almost inviting though for them, for some people. Which is coming back around to the point I tried to make 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
It's almost, I'm afraid to do it sometimes with certain people, even if I'm having a good time, because like, it's almost like, hey man, I'm not inviting you. I'm kind of inviting you, but they kind of misinterpret it.
That's why I feel like you really have to be like, it's like a skill because like I said, I was kind of avoiding doing it when I first started because I'm just up there like, okay, don't forget this next joke. This is what, like, you're kind of just in your head when you first start, really
100%.
like making sure you have your like set right. So then if something kind of interrupts that, then kind of getting back to what you were just doing is like, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So,
because it throws you off.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And I think I know I'm like this. Definitely what you just described. I'm like that. I don't know about everybody. Are you like that? Like if some one thing all of a sudden you're like, it's almost like an ADD thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like all of a sudden something throws you off and you're like, no.
Yeah. Or in your head, I'm like screaming like, this is next. Ignore that, ignore that, ignore that. But then there's the issue of like, what do you call out and what do you like leave alone? Like,
yeah, because you want to, even because if you, there's this, I don't know if there's like a thing where if you're going to, especially if you call something out, you really want what you say to just to land and be funny.
Yeah.
It's got to be quick because you know if it's funny, then you win. And that's the end of it. And if it isn't funny, he's going to talk back.
Yeah.
And they're going to talk back more. You know what I mean?
It even happened last night. It was an awkward moment. Someone was up there and someone's like cell phone rang.
Oh.
And the comic who was on stage stopped, like, was like, what was that? And then the moment kind of like died. There was no like joke about it. It was just kind of like, now we're all just like focused on that being the thing.
Yeah.
And then to get back into the joke after not making a joke about that is like, you should have just maybe left it.
I think that's because I've definitely been a part of a couple shows. I think there's a choice where like, I've seen it work both ways where they acknowledge it because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
But I've also seen people just not acknowledge it and kind of banking on the fact that whoever's phones went off is very embarrassed right now.
Yes.
Quickly trying to put it away, like Jesus fuck.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, but I think not that I think there's like a rule. You know, I'm not one of those people. You know, I haven't, and also like I don't think I'm in any position to be like this is a rule of comedy.
Right.
But like things that I've observed is basically like I would probably acknowledge it.
Yeah, I probably would too because that's the thing.
Hope that it would be funny.
Yeah, you take the risk either way. You either do or you don't. But
I think it's so much worse. I don't know if I can because I have this thing where I've tried to power through things and like people talking is a big one.
Yeah.
And I know this is like comedy 101, but like you have no idea how sometimes annoying it is. Because especially at bar shows, sometimes there's, again, people that aren't there for the show, but are just there.
Yeah.
There's always like a group of people in the corner and they're talking just loud enough, but the crowd is good.
Yeah.
That is there for it. So you're battling two things and you're trying to just be cool.
Yeah. And it's also like if you're getting annoyed by the talking, the odds are the people around that person are also like, man, I wish this guy would shut up so that I could listen to the show.
Yeah.
So you kind of, not that you're obligated to call it out, but like you want to make sure you have the most of the audience like with you. So you have to be like, shut that down.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard though.
Yeah, you always have to pick your moment, just say something or whatever until hopefully because if you just keep the crowd going, then that's all that it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, you know, I don't, I get distracted by stuff sometimes, and that's the thing. Like when I don't know, like when did you start? How long ago? How long have you been doing comedy for?
I guess I started in May 2019 was like my first show. I like took the class and then I
what
had
class
that
did
show.
you take?
I took the one at Governor's and
you took the Governor's
McGuire's,
class.
yeah.
Okay. Shout out to anybody listening. You can take a class at Governor's or McGuire's.
Yes. McGuire's
there's a brokerage run too, right?
Yeah, the McGuire's one is less frequent, but we took it because it was just closer to where I lived.
Okay.
But
why did you decide to do this?
Because I did a lot of, so this was right after I graduated college and I came home.
And what did you go to college for?
I'm an occupational therapist.
I just like to remind everybody.
I have my master's degree in healthcare.
What did you say? It translates to fucking hero?
Yeah, yes, it is. I am a hero. So you can thank me.
So everybody kind of knows a little bit about why this?
So when I was in college, I was like, because I'm a practical person, I was like, I got to go to school for something that's going to really like be, you know, I can get a career and I'll make money and I'll do this, whatever.
Yeah. The stuff that you said, like, do this.
Yes.
The the game of life.
Yes. And I mean, I like it for other reasons, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But I also did a lot of creative stuff in college. I was like, I did writing, directing of like plays and stuff. And I did a lot of improv.
You did plays?
I didn't do them. There was like a festival that I would write for.
Oh,
yeah.
you wrote? Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot of stuff like that. And I was big into improv. I was in my improv group in college. I performed at a theater there in Connecticut. So I was doing a lot of comedy all the time. And then I came home and I was just like, well, I'm doing nothing now. Like this sucks. Like I'm just working and like going home and repeating.
So you kind of left that behind a little bit.
Yeah, because I came back. When you come back to Long Island, there's really not a lot of improv on Long Island.
There's now.
Now, I guess
because
it's becoming.
Well, let me take that back. You're right. It's the city, really. That's what it is.
Yes.
And everybody's tried to like really. There's a lot of great improv if you're willing to take a fucking.
Of course,
train ride.
And I did the UCB thing. I did the classes.
You did the UCB thing.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
I did
for my
it
friend
all.
Mike.
Yeah, I did it all. So I was like, I was involved with the group, but everything kind of came to a lull. So I was like,
so you weren't really doing anything creative,
right? So my mom was like, "Oh, they do this class at Governor's. Like, maybe we should just take it." And so me and her took it together, and then from there, just kind of snowballed into.
A little bit. I know your mom too. I love Rosie.
I know you do.
That's really cool. So it's just kind of like, so you were, when you were in college, you were like really creative. You were doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So but you had never done stand up prior to that?
Yeah, I did it once at an open mic in college. I was like, let me just try this.
My first time was in college too.
Yeah.
I did it. You want to hear my first time? Actually, I was at a theater festival called ACTF.
Okay.
And it was actually I was still trying to get my associates at 28. I would go back. I would go through these lows, man, because I would go and work a little bit as an actor. I'd make a little bit of money doing extra work or something like that.
Right.
Or I'd get cast in some ridiculous off Broadway show where they were like, we'll give you $25 and a Subway card. And I'm like, why, you were Southern and working in New York, but okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and then I'd come home. And I'd had this whole thing where I did all that. I fucking lost my train of thought.
You were in college first time doing stand up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I basically was at this festival and they had like I guess a cabaret open mic thing. It wasn't called an open mic.
Right.
It was like, you can go up. It was basically like, it was a competition. So people had all these programs where they had these scenes and then like, you could go do it because you lost and you wanted to put it up anyway. And people would sit there and they'd get drinks. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I was like, I had always written like jokes and like made fun of people. So I just kind of went up there for like 5 minutes and made fun of everybody.
There you go.
And I remember being like, I had a drink in my hand and I also had a Motorhead t-shirt on but I had a ripped off jean. I just tried to dress insulting to everybody. I tried to be like, I always tried to dress insulting, but I remember like having the drink up there and people telling me, you can't have that up there. And I said something to some lady about something about fucking pussy hair. I don't know what it was. God. It was bad. But I remember using that term and that got a laugh and they were like, oh, and then I had to leave.
In an audience of esteemed theater people.
No, theater nerds, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, and this is going to sound bad. I loved doing that shit. I really did.
Yeah. But I did too. Because my first time was like similar like that. It was like an open mic at school, but it was not.
Oh, so this was at school. This was like in the lobby or the.
It was at the theater, like at school, and like all the theater kids like put on this open mic, whatever. So there was a lot of singing and monologuing, and then I'm up there.
Slam poetry.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I'll do comedy.
Mind insane.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly like that. So like, someone like sang right before me and then like I went up and I was like, hey, I'm going to do some stand up that I've never done.
About guys ever try to take a drug test?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, just heard fucking Les Mis right before that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, jump into this mode now. So it was like, it went pretty well considering. So I was like, oh, maybe like I could start to do this. And I actually do still use a joke that I wrote for that open mic. My cell phone joke that I did.
Oh, you do that. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of the first ones that I wrote and it just works and whatever. So I still use it.
So and I love, by the way, I love your set. I really do. The stuff that I've seen you do, you have this great joke about trying to pee in a cup.
Yeah.
That's really fucking funny.
This is just true.
And it's really smart. And like I've said before, I think I've said to you before, one of the reasons I like your stuff is because it's you up there. It's not an act.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like the stuff I enjoy the most is usually people that are just kind of themselves. That's why I like Billy Guyer so much. It's why I like you so much because that's who they are. Like,
I
you know what I
appreciate
mean?
that. Well, because I mean, I only know how to be me. Like, I'm not an actor by any means at all. And so, like, even when I was doing improv, I was like, a lot of my characters were very kind of dry,
based on you,
straight man. Like, me, just being me. Yeah. So, kind of stand up, I'm just like, well, I'll talk about the things that I know and that are ridiculous.
Me as the girls I've met in theater. All due respect to the girls I've met in theater, but
because I'm not like a big like personality, like you know, like how traditional theater actors are very like big with their emotions and like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm more dry, kind of.
Yeah. I was that more like kind of dry, and I did that, and I was so everybody thought I was a tech person.
Yeah, I could see you.
Everybody
you
thought it was.
like
it didn't matter for years. That stuck for years. Just like, are you rigging lights? And I'm like, what? No.
Yeah. You look like you'd have a carabiner on you or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have some like, oh, you need a fucking.
Yeah, I got wires.
I got duct tape. What do you need? What do you need? Tie line? A couple bulbs? Sure. But yeah, like I would always get mistaken for that stuff. And it was always crazy to me because I loved acting, but I hated the drama. That's one of the reasons I stopped.
Yeah.
It was very dramatic. Like theater school alone, I probably could, I should just tell you all, if I just told you all the stories, I'd have like no friends from that era anymore. And it's all fucking high school petty shit.
Yeah, that's what theater kind of stuff can
heightened.
Be. Everything's heightened, but like I had a great theater teacher.
I did too. I had a really good theater teacher.
Yeah, I mean, this guy changed my life. I took his improv class in college, and he was just like, "You're really good at that. Like, you should do." And he kind of like steered me in the direction of like, "Hey, you should do comedy because this is your strong suit." And I told him I wanted to do. We had this new play festival in college where people would like write these 10-minute plays and then other students would audition for them. And, it was a whole student run thing. Yeah. And I told him, I've
had stuff like that. I've been in stuff like that before.
So I was like, oh, I think I might want to like audition for this play festival. Like,
I never acted before.
I never acted.
Okay.
But I had been doing the improv. He goes, or you could write for it. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. And he kind of was like, he kind of in the nicest way possible been like, you're not an actor as much, but I think you could write something really well.
Listen, you suck.
Yeah, you will not get cast.
But you got a great mind.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
This doesn't translate.
You can audition, you won't get it. But,
yeah. Do you want to break your heart or do you want to try something else?
Or do you want to get in? So
God bless that guy. Being like, I'm going to nail this.
Exactly. And you know what? It worked out. I wrote something and my play got picked for it. So he kind of turned me on to that writing.
So that's really cool to me because a lot of times I would always fantasize about being a writer. Honestly, and then it's one of those things where I would, but then I'd realize I had been like, this sounds cheesy, but I had been writing, but it's like that stupid thing where it's like, well, like people say I want to do comedy. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm doing shows every weekend. I'm doing comedy.
Right, you are doing
I'm just not on Comedy Central, but you are. Yeah. All you asked was to do comedy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if you wish just to do comedy and you think you haven't made it, you got to change your wish.
Yes, that's true.
It's the same thing. But with the writing, I think a lot of people come from performing and then try to do it, but nobody ever talks about the fact that most great comedians are basically writers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's refreshing to hear, like, you be like, oh, I was going to act. And then they were like, no, you do this and try this instead. And did that like trigger something for you when you started writing? Were you like, I like this? Like, had you ever like really written before? Like other than like a school project
Not
or some
even.
shit?
I didn't really, but I mean.
This is writing to enjoyment.
Yeah. So I was just like, let me just write this play. Cause they kind of, what I liked about it was they'd give you like the setting where it was supposed to be and kind of an overarching like theme. So it was very kind of a little more focused.
Points. Yeah, I remember stuff like that.
It was a little more focused. Like, so it'd be like, oh, it has to take place in a hotel lobby. The theme is like unexpected. And that's all they'd give you. But at least it was enough to be. You should have wrote something
fucking crazy. You should have been like, this is a story about an abortion in a hotel lobby. It's real. It's real.
You know what my play was about, actually? It was four characters, and it was like
this is great.
It was a married couple that were both cheating on each other, and they both told them, oh, I'm going away for the weekend, whatever, and they show up and they're at the same hotel room. So
was it written as a comedy?
Yes, it was. It was comedy.
Anybody else, a theater kid would have taken that and been like in the turmoil of seeing my lover, but then knowing that I was cheating, like, because like I always would go that way with everything. Like even when I would do serious stuff, I would look at it from a comedic standpoint. Like we did the Scottish play, Macbeth, everything. And like, I remember thinking like, like this, everybody's like, oh my God, these lines. And I'm like, this is kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like you just think of these moments, like, what if they did this instead? And I'm like, it's like, what if they did, I remember I played a king that had to be killed. I'm like, what if they didn't kill me right away? And I started screaming backstage.
Yeah.
Like I started being like, you sons of bitches, I'll take more than that to take me out. Like
Exactly.
I just ruined the play right now.
Right.
You know? Like
yeah,
that's
not quite so serious. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. And I like that you were like, I'm going to take this idea. Yeah. And something that I guarantee you any other kid would have made that serious.
Yeah. So I wanted to make it a comedy because that's what I know and what I like. And so that kind of was my first foray, I guess, into writing.
Yeah.
And that's what all stand-up is you have to...
Writing.
To me, the best stand-up is like, well, it has to be well written because, you know, delivery is half the battle, of course, but...
Sometimes you can get away with just a good delivery, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's
like LA comedians are more performance-based and like New York comedians write better jokes. That's usually the old thing.
Well, but for me, I find that like, because I'm not like a huge performer, like...
You have your little animated moments that they're well placed.
It's usually a face or something, but it's not like where I'm not going to really get away with like a delivery based joke for the most part, I feel like. So I feel like I need the writing to be really good because I'm going to deliver it in like a dry, like offhanded way. Yeah. Then it needs to work.
Which works. When it lands for you, that shit works.
Right.
You know, and I think that's why I liked your whole thing.
Yeah, I appreciate
that. You know what I mean? And with me, it's like, I'm actually... Because anybody who's seen me on stage knows I fucking run around like a crazy person.
Right, but you have big energy, which is
but I'm trying to now reel that back a little bit because you don't want to do too much of anything. It just comes off stupid. And I don't want to be a crutch. Basically trying to reel back a little bit from that and just kind of use that when it's necessary. Yeah. Like not stand there like I'm still moving. I'm just like, it's more like use it at the right moment because that'll make that punchline funnier or engage the audience more or some shit like that.
Yeah. But I think it's entertaining to watch you because, you know, your jokes are super high energy. So it's like almost like if I'm up there like and then you're coming off of me, like someone like you is so good because it's like, all right, let's bring the energy back up because it's like
the hills and valleys. Like a show, if you go see any of the showcase shows that we do, which at the end we'll do plugs. But like, you know, it's usually we try to anytime you go to see anything good, it's usually like the low energy. You go through hills and valleys, like go up and down a little bit, but not in a bad way. Like it's a good juxtaposition to have somebody like you right before somebody that's a little more high energy like me.
Exactly.
Or a little dirtier like Billy because you disarm them because you have this great thing where you have this great dirty clean set. You know what I mean?
True.
Like you can kind of go either way with it.
Right.
But it's kind of a good thing because it would set somebody like Billy up really well. Because if you do your, you know, trying to piss in a cup joke, which is a pretty dirty joke.
Sure.
You know, it's not graphic, but it's, you know, you couldn't do that in a church.
Paints a picture.
They'd be like, that lady is talking about the urine on stage.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Can't have her back.
Yes. It's definitely, you know.
But it sets up the next comedian really well. That was like that. We were talking before about that when we were all at Mohican Sun Comics. It was like you, me, Fat Jay.
Yeah.
Your mom was there.
Yeah, she was.
And I remember you had a great set. That was a great crowd.
Yeah, the crowd was awesome.
It was a great paced set. It went up and down and it brought the energy at the right level. Yeah. Like I remember I went out, I think right before Fat Jay. And anybody who's ever seen Fat Jay on stage, he's high energy, he's crazy. But it just the way that I teed up right before him, it was the crowd had just went right into it great.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just jerking ourselves off right now. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like,
remember
so
the good sets we had? Oh, we suck. This is every week I'm gonna get canceled.
I know. You don't want to get canceled.
Now the comedians are gonna cancel me.
Yeah.
But all right, so you do a show. Your acting professor tells you suck as an actor, right? Instead,
right.
So when then the comedy class.
Yeah.
Is after that. And then after that, you just kept doing it?
Yeah, we did that comedy class. And then, you know, after you do those classes, the producers kind of come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, do this, my bringer show or whatever.
Bringer shows.
Yeah.
Love bringer shows.
Yes. So we were kind of like, oh, great. Like, and that at that time, we had done 2 shows. We had plenty of people who wanted to come and see. So that wasn't a problem. So it was kind of good to get into it and like get a feel for like, oh, like I could do this more. And then now ever since then, I'm all in. That's it.
That's good.
It hooked me. So
I like it. I like the shit that you do.
Yeah. Thanks.
And again, like your set, that's really neat. So I want to go back to a minute something you said before about because you had like a really good set for a while, and you had just started doing new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what's that like when you write now? Like now when you write. What's that like? What do you draw from? Where's all your where's your stupid ideas come from?
A lot of my, I mean,
you can just be like, I like to sit and watch Netflix.
No,
and I honestly, think Kim Kardashian's ass is fat.
If something like happens to me that I'm like, oh, that's weird, or like I'll write it down like in my phone, or even oh my god,
I have to physically. I'm such a fucking old shit.
I will physically write down a joke, but like if I'm in the moment of like, I'll be telling a story to one of my friends and they're really laughing and I'm like, oh, this is good.
That's something that I always like. I'll run into that and I'm like, what do I do? I can't stop telling the story right now because I have ADD. So I get excited. I'm like, remember this? And I'm like,
yes, me too. I'm like, say it exactly like this. So I'll write that down and then I'll try and turn it into something. Like what the new stuff I have right now is I have some jokes currently in my set about my mom. So I kind of have some stuff about like my childhood with her that I'm working on.
We're going to get to that soon. We're coming up on the half hour mark. The last half hour is dedicated to Rosie and only Rosie.
Good. But I'm trying to kind of build out on jokes that I have because I mean, I still have, I would say a real solid like 10 minutes.
You do.
And
I've seen you do 10.
So now I want to kind of build on some of that. So because I'm not at the point where I can be like, all right, let me scrap that 10 minutes, start fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I could, but
wouldn't it be great to have that confidence?
Yes, it really would.
Wouldn't that be great?
But no, not me. I'm like, let me have
to know you. Like I've been doing comedy for almost 5 years at this point.
Yeah,
I know I'm not funny. Like
you are funny. You are funny.
No, I'm not grabbing for anything. Like I just like there's. Like, I know I have been funny. This sounds so Code of Samurai and everything, but it's consistency. It's just doing it consistently.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, that's all it is. To me, it's like if doing a new joke feels like taking such a risk.
So fucking scary is what that translates to.
Right. So I want to pack it around things that I know work. Yeah. So that if that one new thing really bombs or something,
you can just reel back on this joke. Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's a thing that I need to just be more confident about because it is one of those things when you're writing where it's like, oh, this is not funny.
You write it out and you're like,
you're like, this sucks.
I rarely laugh at my own stuff as I'm writing it, which sometimes concerns me because like I made myself laugh writing this and I'm like, am I not writing enough? Do I actually suck?
Yeah. Or it's like, was this 10 minutes? Is this it? Was that all I was capable of? That's
a thing that's come up, and everything, but I've been writing new stuff lately. So I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's good to know that this works. Because there are some people that I've seen just from like, not like nobody I know, just like stuff. If you research the history of comedy, particularly in the 80s, if you like read anything or like watch any documentaries about that era, like there's some guys that just did it. And like that, whatever they did in 1985, that's it.
Right.
And they kind of like, what was the uncle from Full House?
Danny Tanner?
No. Not Bob Saget. Bob Saget not Bob Saget.
I was going to say, I think he was doing
Dave
comedy.
Coulier. Uncle Joey.
Yeah. Was he stand up?
Yeah, he does but it's like one act. He's done it since the 80s. And he has like a harmonica bit. You can watch it. It's the same fucking bit.
I'm sure.
It's like ever since he started doing the show, like that was, but it's the same. And he kind of gets, a guy like that is like, oh, it's Uncle Joey.
Right.
And like, that's like a weird thing to be known for at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's such a weird thing.
It's like, oh, we're going to go see him. Why is he funny? I know he was on the sitcom. Is he?
Right.
He's not going to do the sitcom up there. Like, wouldn't that be fucking weird?
Yes, right.
If he was just doing just like lines from the show that don't land without Bob Saget and fucking
right.
fucking John Stamos.
Yeah.
I was like, just go watch Full House. But he has like a fucking, I watched, there's a video you can watch of him doing the same bit like in like the late 80s, right before the show hit to now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's someone who's not even a career stand-up.
He gets paid, by the way.
Sure, but I mean, at that point, he's not really more. He did stand-up, and then he became like an actor almost.
Really, a sitcom.
So
but he also
sitcom,
one of the biggest sitcoms of all time.
Yes, right.
And if you live your life right, for the most part, you don't have to worry about shit.
Oh yeah,
you just
never have to work
again. As long as you're comfortable, as long as you're not one of those actors like that decides they need to be known for something more.
Right.
You can just make money.
Dude, I look at, I'm 17, 18 probably seasons deep on Grey's Anatomy at this point.
You're convinced you can be a doctor?
Oh, no. Maybe, but
I know a thing or two about spinal spondylosis.
Yeah, I can do an appendectomy, no problem.
McDreamy told me that.
Yeah. But I look at someone like Ellen Pompeo who plays like Meredith Grey. Like this woman has it made.
Yeah,
she is Meredith Grey. She cannot do anything probably at this point. You put her in a movie. Hey, what is Meredith Grey doing this movie? But she is making like millions of dollars an episode. She's set for life. Yeah. And that's it. She made it.
And that's why I used to do acting coaching sessions with kids, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, not really acting coaching sessions. It would just be like, I'd get a phone call from like my old professor, be like, hey, can you just come work with this kid or some shit like that? Or they would like contact me, be like, hey, can you just watch my monologue or whatever like that?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'd always tell them, I'm like, there's no real prize to this. Cause when they would call me, I was doing like, I did acting. Like I had mild success. I got to go to California a bunch and work with a lot of cool people. I got paid to do that. I got to do extra. I did a lot of extra. That was my main thing. I did a lot of extra.
Yeah.
I actually was on Men in Black 3. I was in Men in Black 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Talk about that. Maybe we'll bring up the Oscars later.
Yes.
But I did. But it was I just worked. And then I kept doing that. I had friends in it and I had contacts out in California. I could have kept doing it. I just got very upset there was a lot of actors that I met that I didn't like.
Yeah.
You know, all due respect to people that really work hard. I know a lot of hardworking actors out there that, like, do the day by day, get the job every day thing and like travel to a different state every other week to do stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? And those are crazy. I've got friends right now that are moving to Arkansas just because that's where the work is.
Right.
They do live, the theater actors. They're becoming actual minstrels now. It's crazy. Like I see my friends and they're like, this is our child. We're raising it in Arkansas today. Who knows where we'll be come next week? Come see 185 as we do it in front of your house.
It's literally, that's how it is now.
It's literally like, becoming that for certain theater people. It's crazy.
And I never even realized before getting into stand-up how much of it is like networking. Like that is so not
I'm
not
learning
that
now.
Yeah, not that it's not like a skill that I have. I think I've gotten a little better at it, but it's so not like if I get like booked on a show, it's like I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do what I do, and then that's it. Like, so I'm not like someone had to, one of my friends in comedy was like, no, you have to like make friends with people and like talk to people so that they know who you are, and that's how you get put on other shows. And
if
I'm
other
like,
people think you're funny, that's good for you,
right? So it's kind of like I was like, oh, okay, I can't be like myself that like takes a little while to warm up to people. Like I have to just talk to people and like
which is I think a lot of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
It is for me. And it's weird because I think that's almost every comedian. Like even famous comedians are like, I don't like talking to people.
Yep.
I don't want to stay around. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah, and you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why so many of us become alcoholics.
Just to take the edge off.
Let me tell you, I've knocked on that door.
Yeah. But you have to be like, you have to get people to know who you are. And you're not going to do that by being the person that does their set and then stands in the corner and waits till the show's over.
It's true. So I've told a couple of people, and like, not that I'm like, but I've gathered that about the business as well. Like, and it's hard for me to do. And I tell people that it's like, why doesn't this person book me? And I'm like, I think it's because you have to be more personable.
Right.
I think because I've told people who I think are hilarious, where I'm like, if you just put yourself out there, like there's comedians that you and I both know.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I don't know how you're not working regularly at Governors.
Yes.
And I think it's just, and some of them are my good friends. I've like, just put yourself out there, man. Because they're capable of it.
Yeah.
You're more than capable of it. It's just really scary to go up to some dude in a suit that you're worried that plus it's also like the one guy that doesn't like you might own the club.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
God fuck me if that ever happens.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But it's like the first, so the comic I was just talking about who gave me this advice is Allie Walker.
Allie's great. Shout out Allie Walker. I love you. I'd love to have you on the show.
She's awesome. So the first time I met her, we were at a show and she was hosting the show and she made a joke about her dog, Lola. And I was in the crowd and we were like, oh, like our dog is also named that. So we ended up chatting like after the show and we were talking about the fact that I also did stand up. She's like, oh, why don't you come to this like show with me? Yeah. We'll do whatever. And then I was so awkward at the show.
Because you just didn't know what to do.
Because I just didn't know what to do with myself.
And you're so new at this.
Yeah, I felt awkward. I was like, who do I talk to? She knew everyone there. So she was talking to people. And then I found myself kind of being like a little bit of a wallflower or kind of like puppy dogging, like following
I'm Bridget.
her around.
I just started comedy.
Right.
It'd be real nice if I had some friends.
Exactly. So we were like, we joked to this day about how she was like, oh yeah, like I thought you were like so weird the first time I met you because I was just like being awkward.
Yeah.
And then the next time I ran into her, I like made like this like joke to her right out of the gate. And she's like, oh, like you are a normal person. Like you're not. So just kind of that taught me early on. I was like, okay, like you just have to be like, you just have to talk to people and not be like uncomfortable and whatever.
I also, and this, I don't know if this is popular, but I also just try to be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know, like, like not that if somebody wrongs me, I have like, I'm just going to be like, fuck, but like, just when in first impressions and meeting people, I just try to be nice to everybody.
Yeah, you don't
I say, hello, my name's Joe. I try to, because I know you don't ever want to be that comedian that's like, like I'm gonna come with a fucking bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm Joe. This is what I do. I'm actually sad in my off time.
Yeah, it's like you just want it to be so that people, there's nothing bad to say about you after they meet you.
Because God willing, this guy knows like a fire department show. I just want to get booked and do my shit, man. This is gonna come. This is like the stupid artist part of me that's like, I just want to perform, and I like performing for people. It'd be nice if I could get paid too as well for it. But I understand that that's a battle.
Yeah, it's the perk.
But I have been paid to do this before, so that's good.
Yes. It's always nice.
Few and far between, but
not every time. By
we're
all
getting
means.
there.
Yep. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, but I think there's you gotta love it. Do you love it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
definitely,
what it is.
Man.
Because that's what it is. I always have those conversations with comedians. That's like, bad set last night, or fuck this person, or blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Are you gonna quit?" It's like, "No, I'm not gonna quit.
I'm gonna do this again tomorrow.
Do this again tomorrow. I fucking hate myself though."
Yeah.
But it's the perfect thing to do because like I talk about it in my set. I'm sure you see it. I have depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And like, I don't know if anybody's ever figured this out in the world of acting, but I think the reason that so many actors die young is because it's a cesspool of just that. You know what I mean? And a lot of it is glamorized, like that sort of, oh, this person was so ill, but they were brilliant. I'm like, I kind of wish they didn't blow their head off at 27.
100%.
You know what I mean?
You hope that was better than that.
And but it's so tough because the gratification that you need as an actor, it's different than a comedian.
Right.
Because, and it's almost like weirdly selfish because you're playing dress up in a way, but like you worked on something for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you're presenting it to the public and then you're like, isn't it good?
Right.
And sometimes it's not.
Yeah. No.
And sometimes the people in the show don't know it isn't. You know what I mean? Like it's a very subjective thing, and it's also quality. I think sometimes drops a lot in it. Yeah, with like oversaturation of certain shows and everything like that. I'm sure I can talk to your mom about this at an extent, but my point being is the validation that you get is different because we're in comedy. You're actively working on something and going to work on it like every night as well. Like you're presenting it to the public every night, but you're also working on it, and in your rehearsals or whatever the hell anybody else wants to call it, we call it open mics, and just kind of like doing stuff like that's like that's the crazy thing about it is that's almost like when people get mad that the show doesn't go well. Yeah. Like it's really crazy to me because I'm like, well, you didn't really tweak it along the way. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you walk off stage and be like, what was wrong with that scene? Right.
Like if a joke isn't working every single time, it's you. It's not the crowd.
Exactly. It's,
people are like, oh, it's a tough crowd. It's like, no, the joke is not working. Like I've had them like jokes where I really am like, I want this to work so bad and it just doesn't. And you have to like scrap something like that or rework it or something. Yeah. But that's like,
have you thrown out whole jokes in the past?
Yeah. There was one that I was really working on at an open mic and it's just doesn't work. It works as a story that I tell like in conversation.
And like a bar story. Yeah. One-on-one with a human being, it works. I think that's what I'm still figuring out about it. How that works to a crowd as opposed to one-on-one. I think there's something, I get it, but I don't get it.
Cause you know what? My energy is so different when I'm in a way than when I'm telling a story. Like than when I'm on stage telling something. I think like when I tell a story that like gets me like worked up, like I'll be like louder and I'll be like a little more animated.
Yeah, because you have emotion going through your body and you got all your endorphins running.
Yeah, and so then when I'm on stage to kind of make that translate, I would have to like change up my whole like kind of vibe on stage or like maybe inject a little more of that energy into it. So maybe I would have to try it in a different way.
You should do cocaine right before you go up.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And the moral of the story.
You're going to do just a big fat caterpillar line.
Yes.
And then just be like,
yes, be absolutely
Bridget,
insane.
I didn't understand a fucking word you said, but the animation was great.
Fantastic. The delivery. Yeah.
No, but yeah, you're right. I think I get, I'm convinced I had a panic attack during a set. You ever had something like that happen? It was one of the contests. I hate contests. All due respect to the contest and the people who run the contest. I personally hate them because I just get so much anxiety about it.
You know, I've definitely had sets where like maybe I had like a bad day before it. So like I wasn't in the right headspace. Yeah. And it
just
definitely affects.
Weren't there.
Yeah, like you're not there, and it affects how you. Like I didn't do well that night because my energy was off. Like I wasn't giving it the same, You just got.
I mean, it's the thing I've found is you just really got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like even the thing about it is if you're having a bad day. This was told to me when I was an actor. if you're having a bad day and you don't go to rehearsal and you don't enjoy this, then that's your fault. This is a good job. This is a fun thing that you get to do. It should be fun.
Yeah.
And that's the misconception, I think, is a lot of people are like, you got to suffer, you got to do this. This is why I love comedy so much, because it's so much fucking laughing and drinking.
Right. It's a party all the time.
But like, the whole thing with, enjoying it. Like if you're having a bad day, try to enjoy that you're being up there.
Yes.
That's what I try to do.
Right.
It doesn't work all the time. I'm telling you that right now.
Not. Yes.
I hit the table. Fuck. Chris is going to kill me. I've been doing it the whole show.
That's all right. But yeah, you're definitely does play a part, but you do have to kind of put all that stuff aside and enjoy it, because kind of like what you were saying about like, not that validation, but like when you're up doing comedy, what's so unique about that versus like if you make like a movie or something, like comedy is just such like instant feedback and instant gratification of like,
unlike anything,
boom, this worked, like, and they laugh, and like that feeling is like when it goes so well, you walk off, it's like
crazy, right?
You think you're like hot shit when you get off stage and it goes well. Like I'm invincible.
It's 100% true. Oh my God. What was I saying before? I was like, you have a good set. I had a good set a couple weeks ago. Like I had like walking around my house naked energy.
Yeah.
Like this is all good.
Yeah, you're like, I'm the best at that. Like you just feel so good. But then like on the flip side of it, when it goes
a week
bad,
later,
when it bombs, you're like, oh my God, why do I do this to myself? Like this is so.
I can't tell you the amount of times that I've sat in my car after some set, just like not even smoking a cigarette, just kind of holding it. It's lit, and I'm just looking at it.
You know,
and I'm just like, I should quit.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm like,
and you
I'm going to quit. And I don't. You know what I do? I go home, I go to bed, I wake up, go to my shitty job. And I think about how shitty this job is. And I'm like, I get to do comedy later tonight. I am so happy I get to do comedy later tonight.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like I'll be on stage. Like I did a show once and I tripped over one of my words.
This is like your worst bomb ever.
Totally. And it wasn't even like, I didn't even bomb the set, but this one joke, like I tripped over like the words of the punchline and it totally fell flat. And I was like, I didn't stop thinking about it for the entire ride home. I was like, oh my God, like how annoying is that I just
you couldn't
did that.
Get it out of your head.
Could not stop thinking about it.
I've done that. I've swallowed words before.
Yep.
And I've just been like, fuck.
Yep.
And it's the only thing I can think about. It's the only, if you ever notice when I don't like hang out afterwards, I'm just like, I'll do like the 20-minute hello. I'm like, I gotta get fuck out of here because I hate myself.
Can I tell you, last night, I was hosting the show. My set went great. We were having a good time. Like I felt like pretty like comfortable like hosting, because that's still like kind of a skill that I'm like kind of honing a little bit. Yeah. And I felt really good. And at one point I tripped over my word. Instead of saying please welcome to the stage, I said please welcome to the stage, and I like didn't address it.
Fudd?
Yeah, I didn't address it because it was just like I was bringing someone up, and I was like whatever. But I got off stage. I'm like, please, like, are you kidding me, Bridget? How'd you do? And I felt like, that's all they're thinking about now. They're all gonna think about how I said
they're all
please.
Standing there being like, what did that small white woman sound like an Asian lady for a second?
So I was like, that's gonna be their takeaway. That's what you get in your head. Like, but it's not the case after the show. People come up to you and you're like, oh, it was great, like whatever. But
I remember not the worst bomb I've had, but going back, I was telling you I did the contest and I was convinced that I was having an anxiety attack. I don't know why.
Was this the one we did together?
Yeah, it was. I was
fired that day. You were.
And I have no idea why I was. And I remember Mike Fales was there and he was like, are you okay? Because apparently I was pale.
Yeah, you were like, you could see it on your face.
I don't know what was wrong with me. Yeah. I don't know what was wrong with me.
Right.
And I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to drink because that's not going to help. I was like, adamantly, I had like a Jack and Coke and I just took 2 sips. I'm like, I don't even want this.
You would have thought you were going up on Fallon the way that you were like.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. And I hate myself for this.
Yeah.
And I got in and I was able to robot my way through my first like 2 or 3 jokes.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, in that moment, I'm like, I'm not winning this contest, number 1. But number 2, like, I was like, I gotta finish strong. And I did finish strong.
Yes.
And what happened was a dude stood up in the middle. And the way that the bar was set up when we did the contest was they had, like, cocktail tables to kind of make it feel like a comedy club. So it was like a pop-up comedy club.
Yeah.
But, like, he was right in the middle, like, this cocktail table. He just gets up. Everybody can see him. And I just, like, I didn't know what to do. And I go, yeah, man, go ahead. Just get up and leave during my set. This is only my dreams and aspirations happening right in front of you right now.
Yes,
and
I do
that got a huge laugh. And then I felt okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
I felt, that's exactly. You feel
you ever felt that?
Once
like,
you're in it.
Maybe one joke doesn't hit and all of a sudden the second joke hits and you're just like, okay, yeah, I feel great. Let's try everything. You get that. You get the confidence
Give me 20
of Hercules.
minutes. Yeah.
You know, like I walk off stage like, man, I could have probably done an extra 5 out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all of a sudden.
Jackass I am.
Yeah, I hate that. Like when I'm super nervous before a show, I just try and tell myself it's like someone told me once, like in comedy, like nerves are not your friend.
No.
Like you need to just like
be loose.
Be like, you know what? Whatever. Like if this goes well, it goes well.
You gotta
if
not care.
Like you just have to enjoy the moment of it and not be so in your head because then you will. Like some of the worst I've done is when I'm like freaking out beforehand.
I tell people all the time. When we did acting and everything, like when I did acting in theater, I always tell people, I'm like, relax. I used to make people meditate. Make people meditate. And I would just be like, you're too wired. You have to you have to meditate. You have to do something because you're thinking too much. And it wasn't like me because I never took it seriously. And this is maybe going to upset some of my actor friends, but I never took it seriously. I just knew people had to be relaxed in order for it to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like actors who take themselves too seriously hit comedians at award shows.
Right. Literally.
But I'm just saying that's where the looseness with comedy. I loved it because it was all about being loose. When I started doing this, I got pissed that I wasn't doing it 5 years beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I thought it'd be amazing. I just get so much joy from the community. Number one, like shout out Long Island comedy community. You guys are fucking awesome. Like I started when I was 29.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 34 now. I started when I was 29.
Yeah.
And like it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like it was fucking crazy because like I was like you were talking about at that party. I was the same way. Like I didn't know anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Steve Rocco Perillo scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, this dude like seems really important.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and shout out Rocco. And now he's like a friend of mine and everything.
Yeah.
Like, but like these guys and these girls wouldn't like even Ali Walker. I remember being intimidated by Ali Walker, and I love her, but she was like,
she's confident.
She was doing that thing where she was like, "Oh, this is my friend," and I'm like, "Harry Kravitz is your fucking friend? Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So that's the kind of confidence and stuff that you have to have. Like,
but now Terry McNeely like texts me every other week.
Yeah, Terry's great. Yeah. Terry's awesome. Do you have any pre-show rituals or something like that?
No, I didn't have one when I knew a lot of actors that did.
Oh yeah,
I saw some dumb stuff.
I'm sure.
I know for some people, I think depending on how you write your material, like some people will just go through their whole set. Like Keith Fairfax, you know, Keith, I know will like every once in a while, he'll just be like, I got to go. He'll like go off somewhere and go through his stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I do it in my head. Like I think about what I'm going to say. I've always written out my bits.
Yes.
But I never write out the bits I'm doing that night. I get it. I write it out. I work the joke out. It usually changes from what I wrote out.
Right.
And then it gets torqued or tweaked into some torqued. What the fuck? It gets tweaked into something.
There you go. You'll think about that on the ride home now.
Know what I'm looking up later when I'm alone tonight. Anyway, that was weird.
Yeah, you ruined it. Totally ruined the vibe. No,
thanks, man.
I'm kidding.
Joe Winchell, an enemy of women over here.
Yes, yeah. You're getting canceled.
I've been waiting for it to get canceled. I really have.
Yeah, this will do it.
Every episode. This will do it.
Yeah.
I try tweaking into something, but I've never some people will always write it out in the moment, which I am fucking impressed by.
I'll just write like a list of.
Do you write it out when you first think of the joke?
Like the full blown.
Yeah. Do you write the whole thing as you hear it in your head?
Yes.
I do that too.
If I do it at a mic, like I'll kind of like read over it and then like I'm not reading from it while I'm at the mic. I kind of will go look over it and then I'll just say it how it comes out and I'll like record it so I can listen.
Yeah.
But if I'm going on stage or something, I'll just write like a word that's associated with the joke that I'm going to do in like the order I want to do it.
Okay.
And I never
try to keep that in order.
I never look at it for the most part, but it's just knowing that it's there.
It throws me off.
I don't know.
I can't look at it. I know some people will keep their books up there with them sometimes, but mainly at mics they'll do this. And they'll like refer, but even like, and I've done that where I've tried to write everything out, and then I'm just like, I just find myself holding my book like this,
right?
And I'm like, that's not funny. Like I'm just holding it up in front of my face when I'm trying to speak into a mic.
Yeah.
But I really try to work it out in my head and think about, okay, is this maybe I can get a little laugh here? Let me try this blowjob joke over here. Yeah, you know what I mean? I hate myself joke over here.
Yeah.
And just try to work it out and say it. And I think the beauty of doing this is when it works, You never forget when it works.
Yes.
As soon as something doesn't work, fuck it. Bury it in the graveyard of my mind. I don't want to ever hear it again.
Literally.
But you never forget that moment it works. And that's why I think sometimes you don't realize that the premise doesn't work, but the punchline works or whatever.
Yeah.
But you'll hold on to the entire joke out of stubbornness.
Yes, exactly. You're like, this should work. And then, why you guys are not getting it? Like,
yeah, it's like, no, it's not. It's the people. The people. It's the problem with the people.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, there are bad crowds.
Sure, there are. If a joke that I do that always goes over, that always lands, doesn't work in like a certain room, I'm like, okay, this might be them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This might be the crowd.
Exactly.
But, if I'm trying something new and it doesn't work a couple times, I'm like, that's me.
Yeah, I've done a few jokes where I'm like, I am not the genius I thought I was drunk at 2 a.m. last night.
Yeah,
well, how about that?
When I went over this in the shower, this sounded really good.
All the people in my head left. I don't understand.
You're like, how could this not be killing? Like,
yeah. But I always try to take that. But sometimes it gets to a point where I won't even do a joke where I'm like, no, this is bullshit garbage. Why am I even doing this? And then like 3 months later, I'll try it haphazardly at a mic.
Yes.
And they'll be like, that's like really funny. And I'm like, of course it is.
Yeah, of course.
I don't have confidence.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
And that's why, but we don't have confidence because this is every comedian doesn't have confidence.
Yeah.
Like you develop it later, but like I listen to fucking Sirius Radio, like Comedy Central. Not one of the guys that I love has any story about like, I was real confident.
If you were, you wouldn't be doing stand-up. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? For the most part. People always tell me like, oh my God, I could never get up on stage. Like you must be so confident like to be able to do that and stuff. And it's like,
that part of it.
I guess, that
I'm not afraid of that part of it. Is that what you're telling me? Like that's, like.
Right.
I always told people, I'm like, I did fucking, when you had to do Shakespeare, which nobody ever gets when you're doing it out to an audience.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Like you're performing for a crowd and maybe some of them know, but it takes balls to stand up there and just say that shit.
Yeah.
So I had that confidence. I'm like, oh, I've heard silence many times.
Yes.
I'll hear it again, So I at least had that. The fear for me came out of just wanting to get that.
Right.
I want that laugh.
Yeah, when you want it and it doesn't come, that's what.
And figuring out how can I get it? What does the timing work? Like I threw out a lot of stuff. I just changed a lot of my perception of stuff after being like a theater guy for a long time. I really just, when I started doing this, I was like, I'm going to start from the bottom. Yeah. I don't know shit about this. I've watched it on TV, but it's like watching the X Games. When we watch a really good comedian, it looks easy.
Yeah, right.
Like just the shit that you're supposed to be like, he just says this stuff,
right.
You know what I mean? Or they just say this stuff, or she just said this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I love this comedian. Her name is Rachel Feinstein.
Yeah.
And Rachel Feinstein's fucking hilarious. And like, every time she's one of those ones that I watch and I'm like she just makes it look easy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's when you're good, it does look easy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, man.
But now I understand that a little bit more when I have a really good set.
Yeah.
Because it's not, a good set is just, everything has aligned for you this night, or the crowd is here because it relies on so many different things.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are rules to watching theater. There's guidelines for comedy.
Yeah.
Well,
even just getting the comfortable with it not going well. Like I had, like I said,
being okay with bombing.
Right. And which sucks every time. But in college, I told you I did improv. I was part of a lot of bad improv, and there's truly nothing worse than bad improv because you look maximum level stupid.
Oh, because you're just making up a story on the spot, and you're like, "Where's my lollipop?" And then something doesn't land, and you're like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, and you're like, "No, now I'm here holding a pretend lollipop." Like, you're dumb, dude.
Have you ever done a show where you asked for a suggestion and just nobody said anything?
Oh yeah.
Hey, can we get a suggestion for a place from the audience? Any place. What do you got?
Yeah, it's like, this
Your
doesn't
asshole?
work.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, it's like, this doesn't work without you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like,
were you doing improv in like bars?
Oh man, no. I was doing it at theaters, and I was doing it at I'm not even gonna say I've done it at like a brewery.
I did not know this. Fuck. We have a little time left, but we can't. I have to have you back on and talk about all the improv stuff.
Yeah, I could talk to you all day, man. It's the improv stuff is crazy, but my point in this is like, if you do shitty improv and you experience bombing in improv, is so much worse than anything else. That kind of like, okay, if I can do that, if I can live through that, then I can,
Yeah. That's what, I mean, I had to stand up there in tights and say ridiculous language.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, I loved it. Again, I loved it. But like,
if you can do that.
Most people are like, I can't do that. I feel ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm ridiculous.
Yeah.
I get a lark out of it. I love it, and to go up to comedy, like, and also at least I know I can't blame anybody really but myself sometimes.
Right. Well, I was just going to say
in theater you can be like, well, they don't understand the French classical neo Joe play we just did. Like, That's a great play.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too. With when you bomb an improv, at least, okay, I have a couple other people. We can commiserate, like, man, how bad did that suck? You know what I mean? But, like, when you bomb and stand up, it's like, ooh, that is all me. Like, I gotta just kind
of
deal with that.
And I think it forces you to, like, all right, well, a good one will be like, all right, how do I do better?
Yeah.
You know, what about this didn't work? Was it the crowd? What about the crowd? Could I? Because most people, you can get a chuckle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something.
If you've been doing it for a while, I'm starting to learn. I'm like, I can get a chuckle out of one fucking person here. You know what I mean?
I've never done a show where it's just like crickets the whole time.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? That's
not lately. Early
on,
I'm like, let's be honest. Early on, there was a part of when I was working shit out, when I was just doing the jerk off joke, that everybody was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yes.
You know? That's how people met me.
Yeah.
That joke of that fucking, which I just did recently. I've taken the action of actually jerking off out of it.
There you go.
But like, I think I subconsciously did that joke because I'm like, well, this should break the ice without people meeting me.
Right.
They're like, I want to go talk to that guy. Or like, what the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, seriously.
Or that's awful. Why do you do that?
Yeah, you never know. You kind of have to read the room based on what people are going to respond to. Because...
Yeah. I think like, it's like but you can usually walk away and being like, that joke didn't work because of this, or I stumbled on my word. You know, you can't really blame. And sometimes if you're, you can always tell when you can blame somebody else.
Yeah.
Because it's always so glaring. Somebody talking. Yeah. Somebody heckling you, throwing, having a good set, being thrown off your game. Maybe somebody dropped a dish. Somebody wouldn't stop talking.
Right.
There's usually an outside element you can blame because it's pretty straightforward. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially because, like, I don't know. You watch Kill Tony?
No.
You watch Kill Tony, these guys go up there and do a minute.
Oh, I mean, I think I have seen it. Yes.
And I'm like, man, you see some bad stuff.
Yeah.
You see some great stuff too, but that's what I mean. Like, you can always, the good guys are the ones that can always get kind of a chuckle.
Yeah, that's
even
true.
in a room that is just menacing.
Yeah, one of my first shows I did was
first show stories are great. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a bringer. Like, we didn't know anything about.
Was it at a bar?
Scene. No, it was at a comedy club in the city.
Which one? Stand Up New York?
Broadway.
And
we were in that like little upstairs room. And
it was the Red Room, I think it's called. Yeah.
And the show was at like 10 o'clock at night in Manhattan. And maybe a couple of my friends came to it or whatever, but this show, it was so like overbooked.
It was like 25 comedians.
Oh my God. Yeah. This show, it was like 12:30. And we were still going. People were falling asleep in the audience, leaving. And like, I was later.
10 o'clock spot, man.
Yeah. And I was later in the show. And I was like, man, how am I going to do this, right? How am I going to do 8 minutes for people who want to absolutely end it all right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but you do it.
But you do, yeah.
And you're better because of it.
Right. It makes you better.
When I started doing, as I've always loved comedy my entire life, like in some aspect, like I remember just learning how to curse from George Carlin.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I listen to it. I'm like, this is fucked up and funny. I'm going to say this at school and get in trouble.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's what I wanted to just, I remember when I first figured out how to say cocksucker with real gusto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Said it to this kid in school. You don't have to beep that out.
Dancing
Actually, I take
right
that
now.
back. Beep that out. But I called him a cocksucker and everybody was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Such prowess for a 7th grader.
Yeah, right. You learn that.
But like, I was real concerned like early on about like what spot. Like, I'd always listen to like interviews with these guys and they'd be like, my spot, this, you don't want to get a good spot. I'm like, okay, what's a good spot? And I'd be like, I want to go later in the show. Nobody ever wants to. That's what I always heard. Everybody always wants to go first.
Yeah.
And like, and then I realized nowadays I'm like, yo, can I go first? Because this crowd's going to die about halfway through.
100%.
I want to get those laughs. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah. Unless you're on like a real tight show. I mean, like,
yeah, like that's what I try to do. I try to see what kind of people are there. And, you do some of the comedy clubs around here. It's great because like McGuire's or Governors. It's all Governors, really. They're all Governors clubs. But like, you can actually see the crowd walk in and you can kind of look at them and be like, that old lady's falling asleep right now. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
we got about 20 minutes before we 2-hour show. All right, I got to get up in the first 20.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you go buddy up to the producer. You're like, hey, pal of mine.
Exactly.
Like, But the other thing is the most solid piece of advice I ever got. And I would go like to the Comedy Cellar and just like wait like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Because I'm like 29, 30. And I'm like, hey, I'm a real fan and I'm an open micer.
Yeah.
Like, these guys probably think I'm a worm. But I would ask like one piece of advice.
Yeah.
I asked like I said, Big J Okerson's a dude I asked before. And just like, they don't know who I am. I was just like, I'm an open micer. Do you have a solid piece of advice? And everybody said the same fucking thing, was just like, keep doing it. Yep. That stuck with me because I was like, okay. Like, you're either going to figure out you're bad at this or you're going to get better.
Right.
That's what that tells me.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Cool. That's like the most solid piece of advice like I've ever gotten. I don't know if you've ever gotten any piece. Like I sought it out though because I wanted to get better.
Right.
Like,
Well,
has anybody ever given you like a piece of advice where you're like, oh, that works for me?
Yeah, I mean,
like your buddy with Allie. I'm sure Allie dispensed her great lesbian wisdom upon you.
She did. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really just kind of the same vein of just like keep showing up, show your face, get people to know who you are, do it, and that's the thing is just putting in the work because that's the biggest thing with all this is you have to do the work because no one's going to hand it to you. There's so many comics and so many people who want it.
Comics. And that's what gets down to me. Like I'll go and watch like an episode of Kill Tony. I'm like, that's like a smattering of people.
Yeah.
And like, I know, and it's almost annoying because I think it's weird. I don't know if there's more people who do comedy on Long Island or more people that talk about eventually doing comedy on Long Island.
Right.
Because I got a lot of friends that'll come up to me like half in the bag now that I know how to do it.
Sure.
And they're like, do you get that? Like your friends will be like, I want to try it.
That or they'll be like, they'll say something kind of like funny. They'll be like, you can use that.
Oh, God.
Everyone loves to say that.
You know what always happens when you're like drinking with your friends and just trying to like have a good time? Yeah. And then they have to like point out, it's like, oh, by the way, I know like you've been doing this for like 5 years and like really trying to be better at it. But like that thing that I said, you can have it for free.
Yeah, you can use that.
What do you do for a living? I'm an accountant.
Yeah. Or you're at work and like people are like, oh, you bet you get a lot of material like around here or something. So it's just like funny things that people constantly say to you.
It's like people's perception of what it means to be any kind of comedian is just us walking around going like, hey, Bill, I saw you slip. Gonna use that on stage tonight.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are you talking about? But that's the thing that I get. People like love to acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, you're a comedian. And I'm like, yeah. Like, but like, I'm also just a dude who likes to eat Funyuns and
right.
Fucking watch Netflix till 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Probably a murder show. You know what I mean?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, it is nice though. I mean, I've had a lot of friends be very supportive and come see my set that they could probably, if I got sick, stand up there and do it for me.
Good friends too.
Yeah. There are definitely a couple of my friends who are like, I could probably do every single joke that you do. Yeah. Like, if you know what I mean? Like,
dude, I'm like that with. We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, okay.
We'll do 5 minutes because there's one thing I do. I did want to ask one thing before we go, but yeah, I got very supportive friends.
Yeah.
Luckily, like Chris is actually wanting to shout out. Chris is letting this go 5 minutes over.
Yes, there we go.
But I got good friends, and that's the good. I try not to go to that well a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, because and it's tough doing bringer shows. This is, you know, there are people that'll be like, "You're not bringing anybody," and they'll, you know,
right.
There are those people that'll cut your time, and you know, and shit like that, and if you don't have the amount of people, which can be very annoying, so it's good to know. And like, and then there are some other shows. There are those other friends that are like, "Hey, you know that 800th time you told me to come to the show? I need to fill this room tonight.
Yeah, like please come.
Please bring your wife, bring your husband, bring your kids. I don't give a shit. I need 5. Like, you know what I mean?
I definitely have people who are like, yeah, I need people.
It's like, I'm sorry, dude, I'm calling in my chip. Like, I love you. And like all my friends, I'm like, I love you, but like, everybody knows I'll call in my chip.
Oh yeah. There are definitely people who do that. I appreciate
but I always save that for like comedy clubs, so I know they can get like food and drinks.
Yeah,
so I'm like, what do you have to really complain about? You're gonna see me. You think I'm funny,
right?
You know, and God willing, one of my friends will make you laugh up there.
Exactly.
You know, so
that's true.
I wanted to ask you a question. I know we got. I didn't get to do this, so I didn't ask you about your mom. I have to ask this.
Okay.
Your mom is the theater teacher?
No.
What does she do? She's like
she's an English. She was an English teacher.
Okay.
And now she's an assistant principal.
God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What? She did the plays though, right? Did she direct them?
She was.
How did you not turn out like her exactly?
I know. I don't know.
And I love Rosie. I know you're going to listen to this. I love you.
Yes.
I love you to death. But like, you're so different from your mom.
We're totally different because she is very much, she's the theater kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's the big personality.
That's why I get along with her because
actor.
there's a part of me that I can always like, you know.
Yeah.
Like I get it.
And she is more of like an actor. Like when she did Annie when she was a kid, and then she was super involved.
I know the story about that.
We all know Annie. But she was super involved in theater and stuff, and so she's like not, you know, she's not afraid to be like out there and has that big like personality. Yeah. I don't know how I'm so much different.
It's so
from her.
crazy to me because she's extremely supportive.
Yeah,
you have a wonderful mom. Like
she's great.
She shows up. I've told her before. I'm like, Bridget's hilarious. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like everything like that. I know other people have said that to her, but also like she does a little stand up.
Yeah, and she's funny.
She kills with the older crowds.
She does.
I remember what show it was, but I think you were there, or somebody was there, and I was standing. I'm like, she's gonna kill.
Yep.
It's like these are all like fucking like older people in here right now. And she's like, that's the brand of humor that she says. It's like, you know.
Yeah, she does. And I think we complement each other well.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
always
funny to see you guys on the same card.
Yes. And it's fun to do a
it's
show.
Like a very billable thing. Like, come see the mother-daughter act.
Literally is. People love it. But it's just like, if I can make a joke about, because she talks about me and her set and I talk about her. So if, one of us goes before the other, we can kind of do a little like callback of that.
Like,
so it's always
you haven't
fun.
seen her yet. You did one where you get one on before her once and you're like, you'll hear all about this later.
Yes, exactly.
I guarantee it was something really funny.
So I like to do that kind of stuff and we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's always a good time to do stuff with her.
I have to get two of you on here. And talk to you because she's got an interesting story as well.
She does.
But also like the improv. I have to have you back on here just talk about all your weird improv shit.
Yeah. Oh,
and everything like
please.
that. Do you have shows you want to plug?
Yeah.
You have anything coming up? You have something tonight, but anytime anybody hears this, it'll be Monday.
It'll be long
so Terminator
gone.
timeline that shit.
Yeah, what was I saying? I had some stuff in April going on.
I can just vamp for a second if you need to look through your phone.
Yeah, no, I'll be
I've got my April 22nd show. That's going to be at Governor's. Please buy tickets to the April 22nd show at Governor's.
Yes.
Terry McNeely's birthday show. Come on down. The whole Funky Bunch is going to be there. Me,
nice.
Fat Jay, Billy Guyer, Mandy Jones is going to be on it.
Oh, that's great. That's
and then I've got May 20th is going to be at McGuire's in Bohemia. We don't have I don't have a flyer for that yet, but May 20th, I think that's on their website.
Maybe
I don't know if they do that soon.
I think actually I might be
on that. Are you on May 20th?
You bet. I am
May 20th, me and Bridge. Come see me and Bridget Kavanagh.
I love that. Yes, I'm on that show.
All right. What else you got?
All right, so April 6th, I'll be at Broadway Comedy Club. That's just coming
down
week.
Broadway. Shout out Broadway.
Yep, I won't be in the Red Room this time.
You doing the big room?
I think
Love
so,
that big
yeah.
room. Big room's great.
So I'll be there. April 23rd, I'm at Harmony Vineyards. Never been there. Sounds peaceful.
Harmony Vineyards.
I've never done comedy at a vineyard.
I've never done comedy. I've done comedy at bars.
I can't see. I'm interested in the vineyard crowd. How they would.
Are they going to be snooty?
I don't know. Let's see.
We'll some
see.
highbrow
It's going to be interesting. And then,
Isn't what you call this Chateau Le Mans 1913 dry?
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And then April 24th, I'm at Governor's in the Giggle Room.
Ah, that's right, man. April 22nd, I'll be there. So come see both of us.
Yes, please. That weekend. I
promised Terry I'd sell a show out for him.
Yes, book that weekend.
So come on down. Bridget, thank you so much for coming on.
This is great.
You're one of the first people I actually met in comedy.
Yeah.
When I started doing it, because we sort of started close around each other.
Yes, we did.
I think you're really funny.
Thanks.
Go see her. I'd love to have you back on, so I'm going to preemptively ask that now.
I would love to come back.
All right,
this was so much
I'll book
fun.
you for that. So thank you
You're
for coming on.
You're always great.
Thanks, man.
I have to give you some credit here because like you're one of the greatest people in comedy. You're just like the nicest guy, and I feel like, I'm glad I met you right at the beginning. You're one of those good people to be around in the biz. So
stop.
You're the best.
Stop. That was really nice of you. Yeah, like I said before, I just try to be nice to everybody.
That's right.
Because I want to be successful in this as you do and everything else on some level. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, I think part of it is just, it's really hard because there's a lot of shit talking that goes on in this business.
Sure.
So I really try to just be nice to everybody that I can be. And
I
appreciate that. I hope I don't shatter that image. There's going to be like pictures of me like blowing rails off a cooker's ass that comes on like.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully.
And
hopefully not. They don't exist. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joe Winchell. This was Millennial Stoner. I am the Millennial Stoner. Tune in next week when my guest will be, I believe, I don't know.
All right. It's
We're going to cut the ending out. It's going to be a mystery. I'll announce it this week. I can't think off the top of my head because my book is not in front of me.
There we go.
All right. Good night, guys.